Hey everybody, Stan Scott here with Foggy Bottom Line Media. Want to do a quick spot report. It's Friday afternoon, November 14th, and I wanted to get something in over the weekend to let you know what's been happening this week and some plans we have for next week. We'll do the regular podcast. We'll record that on Wednesday and publish it on Thursday. But I'm going to do a live broadcast on YouTube on Monday at 10 o'clock. I'll be on for 30, 45 minutes, and I'm going to talk about several things. I'm planning to do a quick update on the sports betting spot report that I did. It looks like some baseball pitchers have now been indicted for throwing balls, on purpose, so that people could bet on what they call a prop bet, right? So you can bet on, will the next pitch be a ball? Will such and such hit a home run? So I'll update that a little bit once I get more information on that. A lot of stuff came out this week on the Epstein issue with Donald Trump. Something like 20 plus thousand emails among those guys. Journalists are going through this now. I'm sure investigators are going through this now. More to come on that, but it'll be interesting to see what the Republican response is to these. Obviously, they'll try to spin it as best they can to make Democrats look bad, to make Trump look good. Megyn Kelly sort of threw up a red flag when she implied that Epstein was not a pedophile because the girls he preferred were mid-teens, 15, 16 years old. And I mean, it is a hard thing to talk about, but when you've got 40, 50, 60-year-old men fooling around with 15-year-old girls, there's an issue there. And you can call it pedophilia, you can call it ephebophilia, whatever you want to call it, but it's immoral, it's disgusting. And if Trump was part of this or knew about it and didn't do anything to stop it, then Trump is guilty of something, whether it's a crime or not. Now, most states, the legal age is over 15. So let me tell you something. If you're having sex with a 15-year-old girl, that's called statutory rape in most states, and I'm pretty sure Florida is one of those. So if that was happening at Mar-a-Lago or a Florida state where Epstein lived, that's almost certainly a crime. More to come on that. Big news on the basically the Republican coalition as well, and this is very interesting. Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes last week, and he took a lot of hit for that. He took a lot of grief for that on the pro-Israeli side of the Republican coalition. Now, here's what's going on here. Nick Fuentes is a no-kidding, bona fide Nazi who has said out loud that he thinks Hitler was cool, right? Now, Fuentes first became prominent way back in, I guess it was 2017, when the alt-right staged the rally in Charlottesville, right down the road from here, complete with tiki torches, looked very Nazi, fascist adjacent at least, if not, no kidding, Nazi fascist. But Fuentes has since become the leader of a group on the right called the Groypers. That's Goypers, the Groypers. And there's at least a little bit of evidence to suggest that the kid that assassinated Charlie Kirk was a Groyper, and that this may have had as much to do with an intramural conflict within the right than it did with a leftist trying to assassinate a prominent right-wing figure. Now, I'm not blaming Fuentes for this. Fuentes is just on the, he's podcasting all the time. He's talking about this stuff all the time. He's getting these folks riled up. And and that can cause problems, as we know. But one of Fuentes' arguments is that the United States should not be supporting Israel and what amounts to genocide and ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Now, I don't want to get too deep into that yet. I will at some point. But at the end of the day, whatever their motivations and whatever their reasons and whatever their justifications, what Israel is doing in Gaza is genocide. And they're using U.S. weapons and money to do it, right? So your tax dollars are helping to pay for this. Nick Fuentes thinks that's a bad idea, and we shouldn't be. And as you can imagine, a lot of the pro-Israel folks like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levine on the right take strong issue with this. So you have an interesting conflict among groups on the right arguing about Israeli policy, which is interesting because a lot of the ire on the left with the Democratic Party is what looks like tacit Democratic Party support for Israel and its war in Gaza. So more to come on all of this. I'm going to dive deeper into these things next week on Monday when I go live, 10 o'clock on YouTube. I'll go live. That's at Foggy Bottom Line Media on YouTube. And you'll be able to see the recording of that on foggybottomline.com and on other platforms. So we know it's been a big week. It's been a strong week in politics. We're still sort of looking to see how the Spanberger administration is going to move forward. She has met with Governor Youngkin. She's announced her transition team, and she's moving forward very quickly to establish her administration in advance of the inauguration in January. And one more thing to talk about is the redistricting battle. You know, the Republicans set off sort of a domino effect when they moved to redistrict Texas to try to increase the number of Republican seats. This is unusual because the redistricting typically will happen every 10 years after the census. I don't have a fundamental problem with redistricting every 5 years instead, except that the data you would use for that's questionable. But this wasn't really about making things more democratic. It was about doing everything they could to avoid a Democratic Party takeover of the House of Representatives next year when those elections take place. Now, California responded, and they, a couple of weeks ago, they won on Prop 50, which would allow California to temporarily bypass their constitutional methodology for redistricting and redistrict mid-cycle. This would mostly, I think, offset the increase in Republican seats that you would get from Texas. And then now Virginia is doing the same thing. It looks like, Virginia a few years ago started the independent redistricting, which was, as Scott said on one of our regular podcasts, he said this was designed to fail by not including any independents. So you're always going to get a tie between the Dems and the Republicans. And then the Supreme Court would have to do it. The Supreme Court did that. But now Virginia's General Assembly is trying to do the same thing California did and change the rules so that they could redistrict. Now, I've got a deeper dive into this coming that is separate from everything because one argument is that, well, Democrats, I've seen a lot of memes showing Democrats have done this a lot. In Maine, 40% of the people vote Republican, but there's only one Republican seat. Well, okay, yeah, that's true. Republicans can do the same thing, have done the same thing in places like Florida. You get 40% of the votes in Florida, but they don't have 40% of the congressional seats. So this is not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. Both sides are doing this. It needs to stop, I think. But if one side's going to sort of try to rig the game by shutting out voters on the other side, just because you can, and shut out blue voters in a red state like Texas, shut out red voters in a blue state like California or New York, doesn't mean you should. But if the other side's going to do it, you kind of have to, right? Because that's the best way to get to what at least appears to be a Democratic result nationally, right? If not in that particular state. So I got a deeper dive coming into that, but that'll be interesting because this redistricting in the middle of the elections of the census cycle is it's a road I wish we had not gone down. What we need to do is get an independent redistricting system in place in every state. Now you're not going to. Some states only have one. And, if Wyoming only has one representative, you can't split that person up. So that's always going to be a Republican. And same with Hawaii, right? So on the other side, so that's another issue that we'll want to cover coming up. But I just wanted to basically announce the live broadcast on Monday, Monday, November 17th at 10 o'clock. It'll be on YouTube. Recorded version will go on other platforms when we're done. And I wanted to talk about some upcoming attractions, both on the regular podcast. We'll be talking about next week. We'll be talking about campaign finance reform, and fingers crossed, I think we have a special guest to come on for that next week. And we'll be talking about the Epstein files. I'll be talking about the Fuentes Shapiro tension and the sort of what looks like sort of a breakup in the coalition. There's some tension in the coalition on the Republican side between the declared Nazis, the Nick Fuentes group, the Groypers, who have said, "Yep, we're pretty much Nazis," and the ones that are moving us down that road, but don't want to say so out loud, and they're breaking. This breakup is happening over support for Israel, which is another topic. So anyway, Stan Scott with Foggy Bottom Line Media. It's Friday afternoon. I hope you all have a good weekend. And you can find us at www.foggybottomline.com. We're on YouTube at Foggy Bottom Line Media, Instagram and TikTok at Foggy Bottom Line. And we're now up on Patreon at Foggy Bottom Line. And you can get the link to that at the Foggy Bottom Line base WordPress website. We got some changes coming. I've got the topics in American politics coming up in January. More to come on that next week. But I hope you are all getting something out of this. Please let us know what you think. If there are topics you'd like for us to cover, if there are production values we need to change, different ways of doing the video or the audio, or if the graphics are working, let us know what you think. Let us know if you agree. Let us know if you disagree. I'm hoping on Monday I can get some folks joining live so we can have a little bit of a back and forth. So if you can, put it on your calendar, 10 o'clock on Monday morning. I'll go live for at least half an hour, probably more like 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And if I've got some folks on, we'll have a discussion, I hope. Anyway, signing off for the weekend. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Hope you had a great week. And we'll see you soon here on Foggy Bottom Line Media. Thanks.